Well beyond his prime, the old Native American slowly makes his way through the familiar lush green forest. Finally reaching his destination, he sits on a large flat rock to catch his breath. After a short rest, he looks up towards the snow-capped mountain tops and whispers the Indian word, Tahote. Then, with outstretched arms, he raises his open palms to shoulder height and begins a chant that is as old as time itself. He is a highly revered man among his people, the last in a centuries-old line of true spiritual shamans. He prefers the old ways, often speaking his native tongue and living by the ancient beliefs and traditions that he fears will one day be lost to his tribe. It's this particular sacred spot where he often comes to meditate and seek answers, just as his father had done, and his father before him. A red-tailed hawk circles high overhead in the cloudless blue sky, screeching its piercing call. To the aging spiritual leader of his tribe, this is a sign that his ancestors are near. He closes his eyes, lowers his arms, and drifts into a trance. Soon, a tear runs down his face as a vision, which he has seen before, reveals a dark future for his people and their ancestral land. Little does the old shaman realize that events that would deeply affect his fate are beginning to unfold 1,500 miles away and a world apart in northern Tennessee. The morning was beginning like many others on the farm. It was 6 a.m. Shane Carson had already fed the horses and was now relaxing with a cup of coffee on his front porch. The hired help would be in soon to start setting up for the long hours of training that lay ahead. This was one of Shane's favorite times of the day. With his family still asleep, he looked forward to these early mornings alone on the porch. It gave him a chance to plan out the day's progress he had in mind for each horse while watching the first rays of light slowly dance across his farm. Shane carried a deep admiration for his land. To him, this place was much more than just a monetary asset. He saw the real treasure in the countryside itself, with its ageless, tree-shaded grassy hills and their whispered surroundings. Here he had plenty of room to stretch his arms and raise his kids without the congestion and problems of more populated areas. Shane felt fortunate for this lifestyle, but taking care of his land and the valuable animals entrusted to him required a tremendous commitment involving timeless days of hard work. It was early November in Cheatham County, Tennessee, and there was a light frost on the grass. This was the first cold morning of the season, so the horses were feeling frisky. Shane took another sip from his cup of coffee as he admired the bright waning moon still hanging low over the horizon, soon to trade places with the rising sun. Off in the distance he heard one of his broodmares whinny for her foal. He knew which one it was by the sound of her call. He knew all of his horses that well. Following the mare's call, he heard the sound of thundering hooves in their field located on the backside of the property. There were 8 broodmares in that field with 8 babies by their sides, and all 16 were soon caught up in a playful stampede around the large rolling meadow. This was not a rare occurrence on the farm, but the cool morning's nip seemed to be... Shane asked him, "How's this herd so connected to your tribe's past?" The shaman spoke in his native language for quite a while. When he finally stopped, he indicated to Tara with a wave of his hand to translate. She appeared reluctant, but did as her grandfather asked. "He wants you to know that these horses are direct descendants of the hunting and war horses that the Shoshone depended on for centuries. Many generations of warriors and chiefs have ridden these particular bloodlines during famous battles that were important to both the white man and Shoshone's history." Shane sat attentively. Her voice had taken on a storyteller's quality as she translated the exotic sounds of the Shoshone language into English for him. "According to our ancient tribal beliefs, these horses are spiritual in nature, and some still believe that when a Shoshone dies, these horses will carry their soul to the threshold, where those who have passed before will be waiting to greet them. My grandfather and others of his generation believe our ancestors still run with the herd when the Great Spirit allows them." Tara stopped, then smiled at Shane and said, I know this sounds far-fetched to you, but my grandfather wants you to understand why these horses mean so much to us." Shane shook his head from side to side. "No, ma'am. I'm not here to make any judgments about your tribe's beliefs or traditions. I just appreciate his time. Please let him know that I'm respectful of what he's telling me and that I consider this very interesting." "My grandfather's name is Taiji, and you may speak to him as you wish. I have told him about your mare and how you have taken good